everyone. This is Nick with Tenacity.ai with my co-host Jason, and you're listening to the Cloud Cost Optimization Podcast. Today, we're going to dive into the ongoing FinOps trends and predictions for the next year. I think there are 5 kind of takeaways from this. So let's jump right in. Jason, give us trend number 1. What's going on inside of FinOps and Cloud Cost Optimization this year?
Well, we're seeing, I think modernization is a key topic, and it's a key trend that's kind of been happening for the last few years, but I think it's going to continue to happen at a greater pace. And modernization comes, basically in a couple of different forms. From a technology perspective, it's about embracing containerization or serverless computing, but at a higher level, it's just about becoming more cloud native, i.e. paying for what you're actually using. Probably the best example is I have an EC2 instance. It has to be started up to be functioning. If it's running 24 hours a day and I'm only using it for 2 hours a day, I'm overpaying by 20, by 20 hours, right? And so, getting to cloud native, getting to serverless, getting to utilizing containers just further enables organizations to leverage what the cloud is main benefit is, which is paying for what you actually need to use and not overpaying for things that you don't.
Yeah, I would say we've been having modernization has been in the top, been a topic for 10 years. It's and longer, but there's always been resistance inside of larger organizations around legacy applications. And we see this all the time where they will go completely cloud native on certain workloads, certain applications, certain lines of revenue, but there's always some thing in the background that is stuck. And I think one of the trends you're seeing, or one of the trends I'm seeing, is we're finding ways out of that, because that's where so much of the cost is in those legacy applications. There's just a lot of waste, monolithic architectures, massive DB servers that just cost a super insane amount of money. And so, I think that's absolutely the trend we're going to see, especially with the downturn, especially with the economic conditions that are happening right now. It's time for that investment to switch over to a friendlier, more optimized architecture. Totally going to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're seeing, what gets a lot of news, especially in our industry, is people repatriating from the cloud, right? Mm-hmm. This is a better first step than doing that. Taking a look 100%. At modernizing your applications. At the end of the day, people repatriate for a number of reasons. Netflix is a good example. They did it because they're Netflix, right? They have 50% of the internet traffic, and they also store, I don't know. It's not petabytes. It's probably exabytes of data, right? And it has to be close to the user. That's a good example of why you should. But a lot of companies are repatriating because, one, they don't understand where all their money is going, and that keys into the next trend. And 2, because they're still leveraging the stuff that they were leveraging 10, 15 years ago when it was running internally. And yeah, AWS and Azure and Google, they love it when you run servers 24 hours a day. It's 60% of their revenue comes from legacy compute. So keep doing it. But I tell you what, modernizing, you're going to cut that cost 50+%. It's hard to, it just depends, but it's a lot.
We could dive into numbers, but there are organizations that drive all the way to 80 or 90% savings. There's truly exceptional modernization is that step you take when you kind of get everything else cleaned up and organized, and you really have your arms around everything. Then you go through and you modernize, and you get dramatic savings. But let's jump into number 2. What's the second trend that you're seeing?
I think, at least a better understanding of how to potentially leverage multi-cloud. People talk about it a lot. There's a lot of opinions out there on whether it's actually, whether it's better to be in multiple clouds or not. I think there's a lot of debate and questioning out there because it hasn't really been evident how much this same workload I have here would be in other particular cloud environments. But also the other thing I would say is that because public cloud and each service or application or type of service that these providers have is a tool, sometimes Google or Microsoft or AWS is better at that certain thing than the other is, right? So their tool can be more important. So really understanding what tool is right for the job, and then also cutting through kind of the unknowns around multi-cloud, why I should use it or why I shouldn't, will be a big trend in 2023.
Yeah, I mean, there's sort of kind of the techno file reason for potentially using multi-cloud, because this service is better over here, this service is better over there. That's one. But I think the trend is actually going to be, if we look at the historic trend, multi-cloud when it first came around was more of like a I'm losing the word here, but it would be your DR strategy. It would be your diversification strategy for your technology, and that's
correct.
That is largely thinking that's gone away, which I'm glad to see, right? And so it became right, and then it became more of a strategy of it's happening during M&A, it's happening during a bringing together of multiple organizations. They happen to be native in one place or another, and so you end up adopting multi-cloud strategy because you have to. And then that trend has moved again to where I think what's driving it right now is I'm going to use the word insane again, the insane incentives that cloud providers are using right now in order to pull customers away from one another or to retain them. I mean, it's now at the point where, when you're in the startup space, in your, Series A, Series B, Series C company, you can get, 6-7 figures incentives from these organizations to potentially keep you or move you. I've even seen offers come to us at Tenacity that are, jaw dropping for just moving your workloads over. They're offering to do the work for you. They're going to give you several $100,000, and we're in early stage startup. So it's I think that is going to drive a lot, as much as the technophile. This is better over here, this is better over there. I think you're going to see actually financial strategies drive multi-cloud as well. That will be a trend this year.
Yes.
Number 3.
Well, we kind of touched on one of the things that one of the unknowns, which is how to understand where all your costs are going. One of those reasons why companies are thinking about repatriating, and I think embracing FinOps is we're at the. It is I think what did you say? That it's similar to where Agile was, 20 years ago or whatever it was?
I think we're perched on the edge of an explosion of FinOps. It is everywhere. It's pervasive. And yes, of course, that's also the algorithms in Google feeding me those ads and news articles. But it is in conversations all the time. And I think you're seeing it where you saw Agile in its early days, as it became this framework to fundamentally change the way that we thought about software and delivering to our customers. Now you have this, variable spending model that is exploded, but it's caused heartburn inside of organizations because it's no longer the fixed paradigm of spending. So I think FinOps is the answer to that. In fact, I know FinOps is the answer to that, and we're now seeing sort of the birth of what was, operational excellence, cloud centers of excellence. These internal governance organizations have now matured into a true FinOps, framework inside of these organizations. So I think we're going to see rapid adoption in the next year. It's on everybody's mind. It's in the conversations that I'm having. When I'm reaching out on LinkedIn, and when I start dropping the word FinOps, I almost immediately get a response back of like, "Hey, let's talk about that." So it is interesting to me that I think we're perched right on the verge of seeing that explode.
Yeah, I agree. Let's hope.
No.
I'm just kidding.
Here's something else. I just had a conversation with a gentleman who is starting the world's first FinOps talent agency. So seeing the same thing, going out there, researching who are all the practitioners across, say, North America, Europe, et cetera. And the numbers They're not that big. So if you're an engineer or you're in technology and you want to amp up your career, go get that FinOps certification. Put that
Listen,
on the
man.
list.
Like we've had to do a lot of, you and I have had to go do a lot of like research on finding personas to try to market our solution to, right? FinOps, there are not that many people with that title out there in any of these databases that have millions and millions and millions of people in it. Go try to search on FinOps in a title or even as a function. It's not there. And then if you try to go to financial analyst, it's just generic in nature. So there aren't a lot of people that are doing this. I completely agree. And I think you're right. If you want to start ramping up your specialty in cloud FinOps, it's a good time to do it.
Yeah, well, let's complete that thought. Like the opportunity is so the problem is those don't exist. Okay, so people would say, so what? Why the heck would I get that cert if no one has it? Right? The opportunity is that when we talk to organizations, they're trying to find those people. Like that's what they're looking for. Like, who do I go hire to do this? So I think there's a big opportunity there. I just had a conversation with AWS where they're looking for people with that experience to bring into their own ranks of solutions architects, right? So that's, who can help the optimization of the next, year, 2 years and help implement these practices inside, very large startups, enterprises, et cetera. So I think that's a big deal. Number 4. So we got 2 more. Number 4, Jason.
Oh, I mean, have we renamed AI to Chat GPT yet? Is it now called Chat GPT? Like Kleenex, like tissue paper is Kleenex. It's AI and machine learning is the next. But I'm just making a joke here. People don't even call it AI anymore. They now call it Chat GPT. That's everyone knows it as Chat GPT. Great branding, but it's AI and machine learning. I think that's the last.
Well, we skipped over cloud native.
Be a trend?
We skipped cloud native. We did skip cloud native. So let's talk about cloud native. First. That was modernization. But so I think we're going to see all new development go cloud native. I think that's it's been that way for a while, but it's becoming. I think even inside of organizations that look the legacy way, they're pushed down that path, and I think you're seeing that play out.
Yeah, I agree.
Infrastructure as code vendors and so on. So I think that trend.
Yeah, very few people are developing new applications with Azure VMs and Amazon EC2 instances today.
Or AWS ClickOps, right? I mean, AWS ClickOps is going away. That's what I think is happening. So
you can't even deploy. It's so difficult. You can't deploy containers or anything server. I mean, it's so difficult to do it. ClickOps, in a ClickOps way, right? I completely agree. Cloud native.
Well, I think service providers have to hear that message though, because that's where traditionally ClickOps has been, and the enterprises have outpaced that. Everything is as code. So really, to be a service provider in the space, to really be moving the space forward, it's driving away from that. It's driving away from big monolithic cloud management platforms.
I agree. And I think to further solidify this point about cloud native, I think AWS just integrated Terraform into CloudFormation. So I haven't read the article yet. I'll send it over to you. Maybe we'll post it in the notes of the show here as well. But there's even the providers know, and they're starting to integrate even these third-party tools into their own services.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think there's a new cowboy in town when it comes to Terraform and what is it, Pulumi, that is now that's the place also to go look, because it actually, I think, removes state from thinking about how writing your Terraform code and actually makes everything much simpler. So anyway, that's another topic for another time.
State sucks.
Yep. So, all right. So anyway, AI. You introduced AI because that is the big mover this year. I mean, when we talk about like Chat GTP, and there's a whole lot of hysteria around this, a lot of hype, a lot of hyperbole, with what is happening in advancements in AI, specifically in generative AI. And so I think there's a few things that folks are kind of getting wrong in the hype sphere, but I think there's some very clear things that are going to change over the coming years, not today, not tomorrow, but they're going to change here in the coming years as generative AI gets better and better and better. So, Jason, we want to talk about what some of those things are that folks are seeing that are maybe yes, this will happen, no, this won't. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, especially in really, really large environments, machine learning and AI are going to help with analyzing usage data, becoming more efficient. It's going to help with, make recommendations on which workloads are potentially good or should be marked for modernization, or maybe low hanging fruit. You're gonna be able to do so many different things with it, from just operating at a more efficient layer. I mean, it's just a system. It's just a system or a tool that allows you to inspect and become more efficient at how you operate and manage your cloud. There's other benefits to it. Capacity planning, maybe from a budgeting and a forecasting perspective. We're going to see the accuracy of forecasting and budgeting become better further out, right? What about you? I'm sure there's so many different things you can list, right? I mean, writing code for writing it. That's just writing the Terraform script. You can just have it write a Terraform script, right? I mean, there's a whole bunch of things that you could do with it.
I mean, that is my answer, right? Is what robotics did to the labor, skilled labor, highly skilled labor in early manufacturing is absolutely what generative AI is going to do to software engineering, because software engineering is a very high skilled labor pool who, they are artificers, they're tradespersons who can, through their arcane knowledge, make computers obey humans. And what is happening with generative AI is that generative AI can now turn out working code, and not super elementary either. It's gaining some sophistication and it's working. What I think we're going to see through the generations of generative AI very, very quickly is that it's going to be able to do a lot of that labor and take away a lot of the gap, the labor gap in IT,
especially
and
across the globe, multinational labor gap.
Right. And so what does that mean for FinOps and cloud optimization? It means that finding the highly skilled labor who is going to be specialized in most optimizing your environment is always going to be a challenge. And being able to use generative AI to at least get 60% of the way there, being able to say, hey, give me a configuration for S3 buckets that maintains data for this long, but configures it in the most cost-effective way and have it spit out the configuration and then say, hey, write me Terraform code to deploy this. That is going to be, that's game-changing, honestly.
I've had this conversation with not just developers, even people in other industries like healthcare, as an example. It's going to become like if you were interviewing a developer today and you ask the question, do you ever use Google to help you solve a problem with coding? And they said no, you'd probably not hire that person.
No.
In a year, if you ask them that same question, but instead of it replace Google with Chat GPT or whatever, and they say no, same answer. If you're not using it to help you if you don't know how to leverage this tool, in a few years, it will become like not knowing how to leverage Google today. That's what it will be. And that doesn't just apply to software developers. I've a number of friends who are doctors. So if you're not, it's going to be the same thing in the medical, not that it's going to replace you.
No.
But if you don't at least type in the symptoms because you might to try to help solve the problem. You know, there's a lot of examples of just really good individual human beings as doctors that figured out some complex problem with a human being, but only out of their own sort of volition, right? These people saw many doctors before that weren't able to correctly diagnose whatever problem this is. If doctors aren't using it to just say, hey, there's like 5 of these symptoms and I can't figure out what it is, that you should be using AI to help you with that, right? I mean, it'll become like that, and it will spread across many different industries, not just coding, but coding will be greatly affected. Technical jobs will be greatly affected by it.
It will. This is what's coming. That's the fait accompli here is that, you know, it's over time, and it's probably years of time, maybe even decades of time, but it is we're going to see a fundamental change in the high skilled labor market around software engineering, and I think efficiency is going to be, you know, productivity efficiency is going to be a big part of it. Like a really great team right now produces on average 80 lines of code per day per developer, per engineer. And, you know, a lot of models say that once you age that software and you get out a couple of years, you're actually at about 10 lines of code a day. And that's normal. That's good because the code base becomes so big and so monolithic that it's really hard sometimes to wrap your head around all the things you can affect by changing the code. So it actually, efficiency goes down over time. And that takes into account, so we say those are averages. So that means that there are days where you, as a developer, write 200 lines of code or 1,000 lines of code. You have a really good day. But there are also days where you literally troubleshoot 1 line of code. That happens. Mm-hmm. It's the reality. And so when you talk about the average 80 lines of code today, when I can use generative AI to give me the framework for most of the work that I need to do, you're going to see that average bump up into the hundreds, right? And that's going to be the difference, is those that are using this tool to say, give me the framework of everything I need so I can focus on those 5 lines of code, or making this loop efficient, turning it into mathematically a better way to do this. That's where the human's going to apply their knowledge, but let the machine write 1,000 lines of code for you.
Correct.
Cool. All right. I think that's probably a good segue into our next episode, where we're actually going to talk about AI and the impact on FinOps and what's coming. So stay tuned for next time. If you haven't already, go out and check out tenacity.ai. We're happy to show you the platform, do a demo. We also offer full FinOps as a service. So, you know, we as an organization come in with our partners and help your organization implement their own FinOps practices, provide you that ongoing monthly, whether advisory or full service, to help you stay cost efficient, cost contained in your environments. Also head out to Reddit, the /r cloud cost optimization subreddit, where you can drop your questions and we'll answer them here. That's it. Thanks, everyone. Tune in next time.